So there's 4 different categories.
And each one is required a separate test and a separate
Yeah.
And test fees.
And test fees too. So it's what, $125 for a written test, $125 for the field test, and then you got to pay your proctor to come and do it too. So it adds up to a chunk of change.
How much is the proctor one? Is that another $125?
I think it's another $125. Yeah. So I'm a glutton for punishment. I took, at the end of my level 3 on the 3rd day, I took 3 of the written tests. But like any written test, if you focus on it, you can pass it. If you've done lead, you've focused on a whole lot of information and been able to remember it and get through the lead test. I would say I probably studied even harder for the lead exam. But many people just say, if you're looking for the label, the BPI certification, the building analyst is kind of like the general category. And then I went on to get shell specialist and heating specialist too, and then there's also a heat pump specialist. And then when it came time to do my field test, actually I didn't have enough time to do more than 2, so I just did the first 2, the building analyst and the field specialist. So I was out $250 for the field test, well, $375 for the 3 written tests, $250 for the 2 field tests, and then I had to pay my proctor, Kevin, $250. So add that all up, whatever, we're over $1,000. But in my opinion, it's the best $1,000 I have spent in this whole field. And if I were to go back and do it again, I think I would have zeroed in on doing the training to prepare me to do that first. Not that the other things aren't useful, but it's got the most stuff you can sink your teeth into, and gives me the most confidence that actually, when I go into somebody's house, I know what I'm doing. So I definitely, and you don't have to do it all at once, and you don't have to, but stay on that track, because that's, in my opinion, the best laid track that there is. And BPI has been around for I don't know how many decades, and they're setting nationwide standards, so it's definitely an organization you want to be plugged into.
And there's a proctor for each one of these field tests?
You can use the same proctor to do
4 proctor
in theory,
fees. I'm just trying to figure out all the fees. So
yeah.
There's 4 proctor fees, 4 written fees, and 4 field test fees.
Yeah, but you could just do one area. Just do building analyst, 1 written test, get experience with the equipment in the field. If you don't have it, borrow it, or borrow it from PG&E, or use a friend's, or volunteer to work with somebody. Get to know what you're doing, and then just do the one field test. So you could keep it down to what? That's $750, I think it is. But like I say, in terms of something that's actually recognized as having real merit and broad applicability in terms of being able to help people through a program like this, anybody who's seriously interested in energy retrofits, that would be the single most valuable thing.
And the first 3 days is taught by you and Kevin and
me, Kevin, Paul, and me will be here next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then the second one is going to be, who's that going to be for the second one, for the field test? I think it's going to be Kevin and me. Or maybe there's a fellow up north in Grass Valley, Andy, or it might be Andy Wall from the East Bay, who really are. I'm at this point a assistant trainer, so I'm working under the wing of those guys, but rapidly getting to the point where there's just a need, because there's such a demand for assistant trainers to become full-fledged trainers and to train more people. And in my opinion, if you want to go this route that I'm going, go through the 3 levels and sign up for the next training for the trainers. It's 12 days, $2,700. But if you're interested in teaching and mastering this stuff to the point where you can actually share it and help other people learn it, and there's going to be a huge need for such teachers, that would be the next thing to do. Yes?
When you say BPI is an organization, do you mean the California Building Performance? Is that what you mean?
No, this is a nationwide Building Performance Institute.org. I believe they're located in the Northeast. I'm not quite sure. Does anybody know what state they're in?
New York.
New York? Okay. And they've been a major player on the energy scene for a long time here. Yeah.
Is there a major difference with commercial structures?
There are significant differences on commercial structures. And while the focus, energy program here in Sonoma is covering both commercial and residential. in some sense, a building is a building is a building. You know, you got a box. You're trying to control the microclimate inside, make it different from outside, and how you do that, how you build that box, and how the energy flows to make that happen are similar dynamics, but they're a whole lot different too. And I would urge you, if you want to get more into commercial, and there's going to be a real growing need for small, medium-sized commercial retrofits as well, take advantage of the courses offered at the Pacific Energy Center, sponsored by PG&E, or basically it's our money that we pay PG&E. That 2% surtax comes back to it in the form of some trainings. Take advantage of the Pacific Energy Center. There's one in San Francisco, one in Stockton, and they're also down south. They have a variety of commercially oriented energy classes.
The BPI does not engage in
BPI,
commercial.
do they have a separate commercial? I don't think so. They should. And it's probably an area that they might expand into. But right now, they don't have a separate category for commercial buildings. Yes?
I just want to make sure that everybody knows those flyers that are over on the table over there. There's one that's for commercial, Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, and the other is for the residential. So, especially contractors who want to pick up a bunch of flyers they can put in the hands of their possible customers. You know, the website's great for filling out the forms and everything, but
Yeah.
I find it's good to be able to hand something to people you're trying to get excited about it.
Good. Let me just wrap up. I'm going to skip over virtually everything else. I think this is very good, the conversation. So this is our Hall of Shame. Insulation typically doesn't fill the whole void. Wherever it's compressed, where there's air in there, forget it. You might just as well not be putting the insulation in there, because if air can flow around it and through it, it loses its value. So it's real important. And it's not surprising we have such poor insulation. Who installs insulation? It's the lowest guy on the totem pole, the least paid contractor. He's trying to get people in and out of a building and, you know, onto the next one. There is a huge need for quality insulation installers now. And it's actually so bad that QII, quality insulation installation, has become a requirement now more and more. And you get Hearst raters to come out and look at, among other things, how was the insulation installed. Get there before the drywall goes up. Make sure you don't have this happening. So what happened? We got some wires. They just crammed the insulation. You might just well not have the insulation there. If we came back with an infrared camera, after we drywalled this, it would look, you would see a stud, and it would look like there was no insulation in there. You'd have the heat flowing right through there. Birds know it best. We've got a poorly insulated ceiling and attic. They've got a warm spot to sit. Good opportunity. You can just walk down the street on a cool day and find customers to knock on their door. Out of shot, IR. Okay, so I'm skipping over here. Rick Chitwood, who is our guru in this area, has done in-depth studies sponsored by the DOE, the Department of Energy, where they have been able to show that if you take care and observe all aspects of this whole house approach, your house will be 50–60% more energy efficient than the one next door. And in the case of the one I just skipped over, they were building a number of high-priced homes, as you can see. He worked on one, the regular contractor worked on the other one. They had a geothermal heating cooling system, tens of thousands of dollars. His wound up using conventional equipment, being 60% more efficient than the high-priced one next to it. So you just got to know what you're doing and do it right. Those are the savings on his. Let's see, what did I do in the end? I see. Just taking a while for my computer to go through. So basically the red lines were the energy being used before, the green lines afterwards. True for gas, true for electricity. Typically save half of your budget and half of your energy. So in conclusion, this is a job we got to do. I'm inspired by Paul Hawken. Many of you know him.